This is called American jackboot. King Donald I is above mere law, if his actions official, presumptive, or core. Something no American even foresaw. Didn't Alito hint that's what they decide? Observers just laugh. That can't be what's implied. Is that what they intend should be codified? King George III does spring to mind, against whom 13 states rallied and signed the declaration that said, henceforth we are free, and your train of abuses we now decree has led us to throw off your absolute rule. Your crown has now lost its American jewel. But judicial Judases led by Roberts decreed, it's King Don the First to whom you must now cede absolute power, both official and core. But presumptive immunity, that's just uncalled for. That one not even Donald thought to demand puts the USA's fate in his orange hand. And the amicus brief, what did you use it for? Perhaps it props open your garden shed door. Did their liberal whinings make you want to puke? So you plucked from thin air immunity's rebuke. We can now compete with Vlad and Jinping by making King Donald an absolute king, to hand over the future of your United States to a man so devoid of leadership traits, even God must be wondering, is it me who prostrates? As you hang up your robes and depart your last day, what on earth, Mr. Roberts, should Americans say? Will the sound be of cheers and even hooray? Or thank God Almighty, he's on his way? Will the sound that you hear be a slow-handed clap? You'll go down in history, but you'll take the rap for an absolute ruling that's absolute crap. When death's fickle sickle comes knocking for you, what words will they use to give your life review? Of Spartacus the slave, what was it Crassus said? I want no tomb when he is dead, his body's to be burned and his ashes spread. Or words that are etched on a black marble tomb, here lies a John Roberts, democracy's doom. Your ruling was greeted with a hue and a cry. Are you sure you are able to look God in the eye? Surely it's pertinent to now ask of you, what price was demanded of we all know who? What kind of payment has been set in train? What is it, Chief Justice, that you stand to gain? Some people might think it's a little right-wing, but he's given me a pledge that he'll make me a king. Not of a state in the US, of course. That's one King Benito just could not endorse. But Diego Garcia sounds really great, and I can rule there in my absolute state. Or perhaps in the future, if those Danish see sense, I'll be King John of Greenland as my recompense. Was such fundamental and pivotal change in your remit, Chief Justice, yours to rearrange? Such an amendment would never make it through. Did Republicans say, John, it's now up to you? I hope, unlike Clarence, there is no billionaire who just gives you money because it's fun to share. As Chief Justice, your place amongst judiciary's greats was already assured in your United States. But you've conjured this law out of thin air. What stare decisis helped guide you there? You think the world will believe that you took due care? What legal principle tried and tested this rule? The one used for witches, the town's ducking stool. If she floats, then she's guilty, the charge rightly brought. If she drowns, then she's innocent, which is what we all thought. Trump's enabler-in-chief, was that always your goal? Roland Freisler springs to mind. Is that your new role? Did you know Freisler's corpse lies under his wife? His grave is unmarked for his injudicious life. Are you Torquemada, doing God's work each day? The screams of your victims won't get in your way. Or a Manchurian candidate put there to await, trigger words for autocracy like absolute state. Is the law not a torch carried forward each day, used to illuminate and light democracy's way? But what country moves forward when rules absolute? To wring change from experience needs an avenue for dispute. The ruling Mr. Roberts is your high water mark, and where it leaves America is now very dark. Is the truth that you hate what America's become, where too much leeway is given to the pitiful some? Where woke is no longer the past tense of wake, but a call for equality. Is that not a mistake? Variable pronouns, on God's earth, what are those? There used to be a she and two spirit. Who knows? I'm intersex, but that's not what they mean. And if one of them's questioning, who are they in between? Do you yearn for the 50s and a much slower pace? Life was uncomplicated. Was that really the case? When whites were on top and blacks knew their place. The world you grew up in, is it being erased? Or do you, like Camus, think you're being replaced? Do you hope Donald's reign will be constitutional, when you know in your heart it'll be retributional? To paraphrase Cromwell's 17th century plea, as your ruling's historic, it seems apt to me. I beseech you in the bowels of your Christ. You don't think there are freedoms that'll be sacrificed? Were not many secured on a pretty French beach? Young men shot and drowned in the name of free speech. Freedom's hard fought and not easily won. But what in God's name is it you have now done? Donald sails to the White House on an absolute wind. Courtesy of a ruling it'll be hard to rescind. Any action I take and which I deem as core, even if it should start another world war. And no matter how much or how hard you implore, is one I can now absolutely ignore. The document taking, that was in fact core, and the nuclear plans, God, they were a bore. Where our missiles are pointed and who's got the code, and how many will die when they land and explode. When I sit on the loo, I need something to read, and how long I'll be there is not guaranteed. So my nice Russian cleaner sat on my knee. She was ever so kind to read it for me, but she left the next day for some guy called VP. So refreshing to find that Trump articulates who exactly it is that he really hates. With regal immunity and his power absolute, take care not to call Regius Trump dissolute, or you'll feel the heel of an American jackboot. For those with the guts to brave Donald's wrath, lustration will follow by a sociopath. And his Schutzstaffel Guard are awaiting their orders to ship South Americans back across borders. Their skins are light brown and their faces are flat. Or are you going to say, I'm imagining that? Despite face recognition, they blend into a crowd. Height isn't something with which they're endowed. And woe betide those who are undocumented. At a given place and time, papers must be presented. You say violence and poverty left you discontented. Your decision to come here wasn't assented. Send them back now to where they belong. It's officially core, so we're not doing wrong. And any amongst you who fail to comply, will be shipped en famille, so there's no need to cry. And they look all the same when you look at their faces. But aren't they descended from civilization's first races? The Toltec, Paracas, and Maya are long dead. But Karlstadt's not in Sweden, Dawn, which is what your dad said. Some Americans will say, am I classed as white? Surely that means that I'll be all right. With a God-given leader, I've got to fit in. So I've been to a clinic where they'll whiten my skin. Sent down by God as his sheath and his sword to ensure that white sinners come back on board. Christo-fascists rejoice at your orange warlord. And in 4 years' time, there'll be no need to vote. It's all been arranged. You don't have to take note. What do you mean, what's our policy for an earth that's too hot? Wear less clothes and drink bleach are my thoughts on the spot. And what about skin colors not classed as white? The trains to the border leave at 5 to midnight. Alas, all the carriages with plush seats are reserved. But these repainted cattle carts seem well preserved. Viktor Orban has leased them for a really good price. 300 or so, I think, should suffice. You'll be housed in nice ghetto camps with space there for all. Your luggage will follow while you build me my wall. Arbeit will certainly help Macht you frei. It's hot work building walls, so try not to die. Once completed and painted, go home and be free. Your passport's then stamped off-white citizenry. Since I've absolute power, I will judge what's too far. If you visit the States, wear this 6-point orange star. America's days are now very dark, and the choice facing you could not be more stark. Do you go with Kamala and her Camelot team, or let Trump defile your American dream?